Hi, this is IK. Welcome to React Redux, another point of view, continuation 2. In our project, we have two counters, increment, decrement, increment. Look at here. Counter 1, decrement, decrement, counter 1, increment, counter 1, increment. Here is action type, counter 1, increment. When we click here, we see counter 1 value 0. We have one counter more. It is add amount. It is a counter. We call that first counter 1 feature, and add amount I call counter. And counter means that I can write number what I want for add, and always I have only add. And it is example because of input box, and example when we don't know in advance amount. And the difference is that here, decrement, decrement, increment, increment, we have a payload only by 1, and we know value. Because of that, we don't need action like payload, because that action is by value. Explicit value is known, and that value is payload, of course, but we don't know take care about that. It is go by value 1 up or down. Here in add amount we have only adding, there is no minus, and we don't know value, and because of that we have a payload, action payload scripting. Let's go to see in script. Counter, here it is, that feature I call counter, and here is counter.js. Let's go to see counter slice at first. Counter slice at first. We import from Redux JS toolkit. Here it is, that import create slice, important function, and we have initial state, and here is object counter slice. Counter slice equal create slice. Create slice will create our declaration of object counter slice. Counter slice equal, right side is assignment. Assignment is create slice function, and create slice function there is a parameter. In parameter it is this inside curly brackets, and here it is as always name, counter. Initial state is this initial state object, and it is object, and that object there is members, and that members is name, counter, initial state, reducers. Inside reducers is again in curly brackets, and it is increment by amount. Increment by amount, action creator, and increment by amount column arrow function. Increment by amount here is arrow function, and the parameter of arrow function is state and action. We need here state and action because here is not one concretely value. Look at, there is no action, but value is action object dot payload. Payload is object action. There is properties payload. That payload properties of action is object, and we must have that object. We add, plus means that we add what we type in input box. We add it to state.value. State.value is number, and to that number we add payload. State.value. It is state value, but inside a counter. When we want take that state, we must look at counter.js. Counter.js, and use a selector, take select count, and select count is select count is in slice. Look at in slice. Select count is state dot counter. Here it is counter dot value, state dot counter dot value, because in state there is 7 different properties. Every properties is object again, and state dot counter dot value, all that we can create, like it is arrow function. Parameter coming here is a state, and in body of arrow function we have state dot counter dot value. Now we can do this. Copy, and let's go to our counter and use a selector. Use selector. Parameter now is not object, is not project select count, but parameter is this. Counter.js parameter is arrow function. Parameter of arrow function is state, and in body is state.counter value. Nothing changed. All is excellent, and we don't need select count, and we don't need this statement. Here it is, work add amount. Counter.js. Counter.js, it is very it is more visible. We can better imagine what happened, what use selector is. again, state is state here, this state, state in store. User selector is here, and the user selector equal state dot counter. Counter dot value, but you look at better to copy this and here paste. Yeah, this is this is visible. This is better visible here. That this state we talk about this state, but dot counter dot value, and it is state. There is 7 properties, and every properties there is a name as a feature name. As name we give in slice. Every properties of state there is a name in slice. We name it in slice. And state dot counter dot value. State is object, counter is object, value is object. And state there is a properties counter object. Counter object there is a properties value. This is hierarchy of object-orienting programming. Okay, it is user selector, and that state coming in our component. In our component, this is counter.js is component, and we have, for example, that state momentary is 8. For here, momentary is 8. This for here, it is a state, local state of input box. Local state of input box. It means that we have a state 8. It is on the component visible, and we have it is a state what coming from store, from Redux. It is a state what coming with a hook use selector. And now we look at it is 8. This moment is 8. But local state is 4. Local state in input box. Let's go back to script. Here it is. Count is, this is assign. It is 8. Momentarily it is 8. And because here we have a input box and payload as a variable, we must use a local hook, local hooks, local function hook use state from React. It is component, it is from package React. It is component, it is about component of React. And that hook is about that component. That hook help us to use functional function component, not class component. User state, okay, and that user state always with user state we work like that. Why we need user state? We need user state because that state in input box must be mutated by immutable kind, and that job does use state hook mutate state of input box. It is now 4. Mutate 4 in a new state would be what I type here. Now is 4, but I will type new state in input, new number, and user state hook must memorize 4, create copy of 4. How memorize 4? That memorize 4, that copy of that copy, after that copy that 4, and to copy that copy add to 8. That copy add to 8. Let's go to see through script. Must have user state. There is a two-part user state. One part is that value. Memorize that value. Take in memory this value. This value 4. Take in memory, and it is this part, increment amount. Increment amount is a value. Increment amount is a value of input box. Okay. Increment. Increment amount coming from input box, and we must convert it in number, because all what coming from input box is string, and increment amount is a value of input. Here it is, increment amount. And we must, because it is value of input box, it is a string format. Never mind what is the number. Number and letters together is a string. and increment amount together or separately. In increment amount, we must in the next code create increment value and the function number, JavaScript function number with parameter increment amount, means that increment value will be equal increment amount, but not string. Then increment value will be number, type of data number. And get back to user state. User state, there is a variable for memorize 4. In this moment, increment amount is 4, because here is 4. Increment amount. And the second member of this array, this is array of 2 members, second member of this array is function. That function would be activated with onChange event. OnChange is JavaScript event, and that onChange event, JavaScript event, is inside this input box, and it means that it is attribute of input HTML elements. HTML element, there is attribute. Value is attribute, and onChange is attribute of input box. And onChange equal arrow function. Arrow function. And in that arrow function, parameter is event. That means that parameter always go, parameter of function always go in body. And that event as parameter go in body of arrow function, and here it is, event. Which event? onChange. Event onChange. Where is location of that event? Input box. And that event dot target is input box dot value. Target here is input, this input dot value. Which value? Here it is. This value. Delete. Value 10. This value 10. But what is onChange event? This is when I type 10 and I get out, it is moment onChange. And that moment value is 10. This value is 10. And that value now is in input. It is value of input. And what it is new increment amount. And set increment amount function. It is a function, this function, set increment amount. This arrow function complete. This arrow function complete. Create mutate for to 10. Mutate to 10 by immutable kind. By immutable kind. If mutate can be increment amount equal 10. It is mutate, but we must create immutable kind of mutate. Immutable mutate. And we cannot use increment amount equal 10 or equal we must use that on change event and that arrow function and that set increment function. Set increment function. Set increment amount, we use same name, increment amount, set increment amount. Because set increment amount is set state. Set state. Use state, there is increment amount. It is variable what take, what have for value input value, value of input box. And use state, there is a memory, there is a variable memory place for that value. And set increment amount, change that increment amount, change that, mutate that by immutable kind. Copy for before state copy, and that copy change to 10 in our example now. And this moment we have increment amount, it is a use state. Use state part of increment amount is memory for 10. This is 10. All time we are in the React component. This is React component. And now I will click to button, this button. And this button is HTML element. That button HTML element, there is attribute on click. As on change, attribute of input. As on change is event of JavaScript. Also on click is event of JavaScript. Here attribute of button HTML element. Like on change equal in curly brackets arrow function, on click equal also in curly brackets arrow function, and on click that event activate function. It is calling of our function. How we call our arrow function? We call arrow function by click. And it is example how is calling arrow function. On click, event on click, activate this arrow function, call this arrow function. And this arrow function, there is no parameter. In body there is dispatch. Dispatch is a method of store. Here it is. Store. This is a store. This is a store. And a store.dispatch is a method. Method is function of store, and that function there is a parameter. Use dispatch is a hook function what coming from package React Redux. From package React Redux coming use dispatch, also use selector, because that two hooks communicate between Redux and the React component. Use dispatch communicate between it is hook by which we can communicate. We can create, at first we create that method of store. Here we create, we declare object dispatch. Now I can call that object, and for you it is not confused after my video, and I repeat it a lot of time, because that object equal function. We can all the time we have that. We have dispatch, that dispatch, object dispatch is equal function, use dispatch function. And in this statement, this dispatch is this dispatch. We have a method of store, method function of store, method of store with the name dispatch. With the name dispatch. It is use dispatch is name of hook. Nothing here in parameter. But this dispatch is a name of method of store, dispatch, store.dispatch. All that possible, all scripts, what Facebook author scripting in background of this, how many row, how many statements, we don't worry. We have what we need, only writing this. And because of that, Redux toolkit is something excellent what happened. I'm very interested in the next developing of Redux. It will be a lot of shortage for us, a lot of advances that in the end we will script very small. It will be less and less job for us, for developer. And in React, normal is that we declare object equal, use the equal arrow function, equal function, object equal function. Because that object, it is only name what we use, where we use here. We use that dispatch here, and on click call without parameter arrow function, and dispatch is a method. Parameter of dispatch increment by amount. It is action creator. Action creator is function, and parameter of that function is increment value. It is number, data type number, increment value. It is 10. It will be 10. And when I click add amount, when I click add amount button, add amount, will that event call dispatch method, parameter of that method action creator, parameter of action creator is increment value. This is increment value. It is increment amount, but not string, but number. Type, data type number. But now we know that it is action creator. That action creator will create, here it is, will create a action object. Action object. Action object will have a action type and action payload. I can at least click on that add amount and here click and dispatch that 10 have been dispatched to count, has dispatched to reducer, dispatch that 10 is dispatched to reducer, and reducer, there is a state. What was state? 4. Look at, not 4 but 8. 8. 8. And coming 10. Dispatch, take 10. And 8 is, here is 8. And here is 10. Input of reducer is 8 and 10. 2 input. Function reducer reduce to 1 output. And 1 out, but inside reducer will IME library will copy 8, and that copy plus adding 10. And don't touch original 8, but touch copy 8 plus 10, and this 8 memorize like history, like navigate, and in this state this will be 18, and here this 8 go in history, and here coming 18. in that moment activate that moment when coming 18 like state, that moment use selector activate component, refresh component, and render again, render component. In that render component and component rendering new state 18. Look at here. Now I'm in. Okay, let's back here when I hear. It is in different browser. One is in one browser. Second is in other browser. Same application in two browser, and because I copy location in Google browser, because I have in this browser I have Redux. I download Redux toolkit here, and in this browser I have also, it is activate automatically when I start, npm start automatically open this browser. Okay, never mind. Add amount 18 via here. We import React and import that hook from React. Import two hook use selector use dispatch from React Redux. And increment by amount from counter slice. Let's go to see to counter slice what action type and what will be with payload. Let's go to see in counter slice. Here it is, increment by amount, and input of a reducer is a state and action. It is parameter, and that two parameters, state and action, coming to body of arrow function. Here is a state dot value, and here is action dot payload. Here it is, action dot payload. What will do? What we have a plus. It means that to state dot value, here we don't need counter word, this counter, because this is a part. We are now inside of counter slice, and all inside is about counter slice. Name of that counter slice is counter, and all this is about counter, and we don't know state dot counter dot value. We don't need that, because it is understandable that state dot value is value of counter. And to that state, what was 8, we will add action payload, what was 10. 8 plus 10, as this coding means mutate but not immutable kind. But we can write this because a Redux toolkit coming and give counter slice Imer library. That Imer library will in background rescripting this our script in more row of scripting, because we'll copy state value, create copy state value, and to that copy add action payload. It is counter slice. I repeat a lot of time. You listen this video more times. You comment if I said some wrong, correct me, and you be friendly with object equal function. All that is play main role here is function, but left side is name. It is object. It is not function. It is variable left side, but it is only for name of all that function. When we write function directly, we have name function again. Name of name, it is all the time we have a name, and that name can be directly name of function if we write a script like that, or it can be object that left side it is name. It is variable, but we always have a result of function, and the result of function here, for example, this result of this function, we have a action creator. That action creator create action object. That action object, there is a counter slash increment by amount type of action type. Look at type. When I stay here, state, value, number, action type, but parameter, you see it is number, and action, parameter, action, payload, any type, string. All that create slice. We have what to do with payload, add to state.counter value. All that add by immutable kind, what will do Imer library. We increment by amount, we have action creator function. Action creator function will create action object. Action object will have state and action, but we'll have a type of action and the action payload. And all that go to reducer on input state and input action. Input state is state counter value, but action is action type, what to do, plus, and action payload, what to plus, 10 in our example, it is 10. Here is export, must be export because we need import in some place, in other place we need import of that actions, counter slice dot actions. Counter slice is object dot actions, have object actions, have properties actions. Properties actions here is object, also object. And here it is only one, increment by amount. But here is always plural. And because it is name of properties, properties of counter slice. Every document slice, there is actions properties. And here export counter slice dot reducer. Counter slice is object what have two properties. Properties actions and properties reducer. Counter slice dot reducer, counter slice dot actions. It is two properties. Reducer and actions. All that together we will have add amount to. Here it is counter slash increment by amount. It is type, action type. Increment by amount is counter, here is 2. Now 10, get out, add amount 12. But here is a 2, because it is immutable. I must click here, and now is a 12. Before is 2. Immutable kind. Immutable mutate. Don't remove, don't delete, don't change directly original. Only by copy. Create copy, and that copy, to that copy add. And here it is. Copy plus 10 is 12. Copy 2. But here is 2. Counter. This is a counter. I will finish now this video, and I say you again, you step by step, example by example, video by video, my video or others' video, blogs, others' source of your learning. You have a picture, you have understand, you have image, you visualize what happened with in reducer, in React library, and now in React Redux library. And be friendly, more and more friendly with this kind of thinking, this kind of coding, right scripting. And look at architecture. Look at architecture, because architecture is something what repeating and repeating for React component and for slice. And when you understand and have image of architecture, you will step by step, example by example, you will be expert in syntax and writing fast as possible from blank page, from scratch. And on the interview, you say, interviewer, what you know, what you want to demonstrate, and demonstrate what you know with story, with explanation, your explanation, and with your concretely coding. If it is boring for interviewer, you said, okay, I will explain this one row, this one statement, and I will write this part of programming. It is all can be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, how interviewer want. From that, interviewer will see that you understand how you. If interviewer don't be same profession, for example, you are developer and interviewer is not a developer, it means that that company don't find developer. Interview with you must do developer, and you understand, and that developer will understand what you said and will know how you explain it and how you will be inside of team. Who know explain, absolutely that person like to explain other people. That person who explain means that he learn, that understand, and when understand, he thinking how to explain others. And when he explain others, he really learn. Explain is learn. Because all what I said in this video is my learning. I learn, and any comment can, and I have been wrong, and comment can help me that I saw this, or will help me that I reply to that a comment, and we learn both comment and explainer. Explaining means knowledge, understand bottom line, basic of basic. We go, when we want to understand something, we go deeper and deeper, and we want to touch bottom line, and Aristotle called that first principles. When we coming to first principle, and what is first principle? It is a wall. After that, there is nothing. It is finished, and in that part, it is the best understandable, and it is the simplest possible explanation. Okay, thank you for watching this video. If you like, click on like, or subscribe, or say friends, share on your network, engage. Your engagement will grow value of this video. Without your engagement, this video is nothing, zero value. Thank you for watching this video again. See you next time.